This is assignment 18, the final one, applying the colors to the final project. Now that we've created all of the 24 color hue chroma triangles, what are we going to do with them? Well, the first thing would be to give you an overview of what we actually have. As I may have mentioned before, the color wheel itself is not a flat thing, but is actually three-dimensional. Therefore, the best way to show you is to show you what it looks like in a diagram. Here's what the matrix actually looks like when laid out three-dimensionally. As you can see, the neutral grayscale is at the back on the right side. The 24-step color wheel is depicted along the bottom so that you can see the relation of the colors to one another. What we now have is the ability to refer to a single color simply by three numbers: the hue, H, the value, V, and the chroma, C. Here are four colors plugged into the matrix in their appropriate positions. Note that some are close to the back and thus have a very low chroma number, like C. Others are out nearer to the front and have a high chroma, like A. The hue refers to the position of the color within the matrix. Also note that the matrix is only 5 positions deep. We have expanded on this to enable more colors. The original one was only 5, and I've gone through the added trouble of bringing this out to 10 so that we can have more colors available to us. Here we see the 6 primary colors from the matrix pulled out to the brightest chroma. Note that the value, V, shows how high or how low the position of the color is on the matrix, top to bottom. A real easy way to think of this is as follows. Values equals top to bottom movement through the matrix, chroma equals a front to back movement through the matrix, and hue refers to or equals the left to right movement through the matrix. The fact that we now have this matrix and have shared it with one another makes it possible for us to do a lot of interesting experimentation. For instance, if we had a composition that had 6 colors depicted above, scattered around the matrix as they are, we could take those same colors and unify a multicolored images into monochromatic compositions very easily by collapsing all of the colors to one single hue and still maintaining their relative position to the value and chroma. Over the course of the next couple of images, you will see what is possible using the hue chroma matrix for color imaging. This image above depicts a very simple multicolored image with a light blue background and several dots of different hues and chromas. Remember, the originals were done in gouache, so this wasn't an easy task. As in the first example where I described collapsing the colors into a single hue, hue 1, which as we know by now is red, note that not only do the color dots change, but the airbrush background changes as well. Only the hue is collapsed. The value and the chroma remain unchanged. This is an example of left-right movement through the matrix. Here's what happens when you collapse the value. The hue and the chroma remain constant. This is a forward and backward movement through the matrix. This is what happens when the value is collapsed. Note that while the airbrush background remains unchanged, the value of the dots themselves diminishes. The hue and the chroma remain constant. This is a top to bottom movement through the matrix. Here the chroma has been collapsed. The hue and the value remain constant. This is a forward to back movement through the matrix, much like what you would get in Photoshop by reducing an image to grayscale. And finally, this is a chroma collapse. The hue and value remain the same, but the chroma has been reduced to a single plane on the matrix. Everything has been pulled to a chroma of 2. Now I don't expect you to do simple versions like this. Remember, in their day these were very difficult to do because we were using gouache. Today, using Photoshop, we should be able to jump directly into using images to get the same results. These are highly instructive images, though, to show you what the effects can be on a very simple shape. So then, your first task will be to find a parent image. Some of you may have already chosen one. This was an example that a fellow student in my class in undergrad school used as an example. It was taken from a color photograph and then carefully reduced to distinct fields of color. This will make the process of changing the colors easier over the course of the final exercise. I'll be showing a group of these next. However, for the moment, let's focus on this. Using the example of the matrix, your next task would logically be to identify the position of each color within the matrix so that you could use this information to manipulate the colors. Please note that the colors in this example of the matrix do not match the example in the clown. It is merely to show the shifts taking place. The matrix shown here implies simply locating and identifying the colors. At this point, you will want to map out your hues and refer to them by their value, chroma and hue. The next piece that you will need to create is a complete color reversal of your parent image. Since you know the exact location of every color in your parent image, you can then quite easily find its exact opposite within the matrix. Again, remember that our matrix is 10 chroma deep as opposed to this example, which is only 5. Expanding a hue is another of the pieces that you will need to accomplish. This can be a bit tricky, but can be done with a number of positions within the matrix. Either forward in the matrix, which tends to make your hue very pure and somewhat garish, or up into the matrix, which lightens the hue. You will want to do this by group and keep the hues moving together within the matrix. Contracting a hue by group, another of the pieces that it will ask you to do, is one that can be accomplished by shifting all of the hues from one position to another. This can be done by group, with the entire group moving the same amount, or it can be done with an individual hues moving the same number of spaces through the matrix. This is an example of translation of hue by group. The graphic of the matrix here depicts a movement of hue from a lower position to a higher one, but any kind of movement within the matrix is possible, provided that the hues all move uniformly as a group through the matrix. And finally, you can contract or collapse your hue, moving from hue that are very bright to ones that are dark by moving down through the matrix, or by moving them all into a monochromatic range. The choices and permutations are endless, but once you've begun one, stick with it. The number of pieces for the final project are 1 parent image and 5 transformations, with color reversal being given. The others are up to you. Here's the final piece with the parent image on the left and the translations to the right. Again, these were done with gouache, which is a very tricky medium to work with. The color never dried the same as it went on wet. It took until it dried before you can see what you had. Our ability to now do these on the computer should speed the process up considerably. I have one final presentation to show you, which will include the examples from the recent semesters, so that you can get some idea of what others have done.